ago.
You know,
Remember that, guys?
If you slide that out, you'll get some more.
No, it ain't that. It's. See, I got cataracts too. So this is really a miracle. Standing up there. All right. In Romans chapter 8, verses 1 through 13, the Apostle Paul said, "Therefore, there is no longer any condemnation awaiting those who are in union with the Messiah, Yeshua." Why? Because the Torah of the Spirit, which produces this life in union with the Messiah, Yeshua, has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what the Torah could not do by itself, because it lacked the power to make the old nature cooperate, God did by sending his Son, his own Son, as a human being with a nature like our own, sinful one, but without sin. God did this in order to deal with sin, and in so doing, he executed the punishment against sin in human nature, so that the just requirement of the Torah might be fulfilled in us who do not run our lives according to what our old nature wants, but according to what the Spirit wants. For those who identify with the old nature set their minds on the things of the old nature, but those who identify with the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. Having one's mind controlled by the old nature is death, but having one's mind controlled by the Spirit is life and shalom. For the mind controlled by the old nature is hostile to God, because it does not submit itself to God's Torah. Indeed, it cannot. And that's true. When you stop fighting with God, you may not have peace with the world, but you got peace with him, and he can do a lot of things. Like 13-year-old girl over there, keep telling me, put her hand up, talk to the hand, and God's telling me, don't spank her for a year, and then finally showed me I was doing what she was doing. God. Sorry about that. I brought you as a model. Thus, those identify with their old nature cannot please God. But you do not identify with your old nature, but with the Spirit, provided the Spirit of God is living inside you. For anyone who doesn't have the Spirit of the Messiah doesn't belong to him. However, if the Messiah is in you, then, on the one hand, the body is dead because of sin, but on the other hand, the Spirit is living. The Spirit is giving life because God considers you righteous. And if the Spirit of the one who raised Yeshua from the dead is living in you, then the one who raised the Messiah, Yeshua, from the dead, will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit living in you. Amen. So then, brothers, we don't owe a thing to our old nature that would require us to live according to our old nature. For if you live according to your old nature, you will certainly die. But if, by the Spirit, you keep putting to death the practices of the body, you will live. My opinion is if a person lives in the Spirit of God, then they will walk in the guidance that comes from the Spirit of God. And they will not come under any judgment or punishment from the law of God, because they are under the direction of the original lawgiver, who is God himself, through Yeshua/Jesus, through the Holy Spirit. From what I experienced with the Holy Spirit teaching me and guiding me and helping me and comforting me and encouraging me and rebuking me, the Holy Spirit is teaching me the Torah/laws of God in its purity, little by little, bit by bit. I sincerely believe if I continue to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit, God, my Heavenly Father, will call me a good and faithful servant. And this one's going to be the original one. And then he told me, well, that's for starters. I was proud to have those 3 pages. And I was like, wow, I really got a lot to do. And then he warned me, like his wife warns him, don't put too much down because it'll glaze their eyes over. And so I had that in mind too.
You did him?
Does the Apostle Paul consider, who does the Apostle Paul consider to be a Jew? I like to say Hebrew. One rabbi corrected me on that, so ever since then I always say Hebrew. No, it's just, you know what I mean. It's just, all right. In Romans chapter 2, verses 17 through 29, the Apostle Paul said, but if you call yourself a Jew and rest on Torah, the 5 books Moses wrote, and boast about God, and know his will, and give your approval to what is right, because you have been instructed from the Torah, or law, and if you have persuaded yourself that you are a guide to the blind, a light in the darkness, an instructor for the spiritually unaware, and a teacher of children, since in the Torah you have the embodiment of knowledge and truth, then you who teach others, do you teach yourself? Preaching, thou shalt not steal, do you steal? Saying, thou shalt not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? Detesting idols, do you commit idolatrous acts? I looked at the other Bibles, it means you go and rob the shrines and the temples of the idols. I'll read it. That is, you who hate, and I got this off the Strong's Concordance. That is, you who hate idols and their contamination, do you still rob their temples and shrines? That tells me they were robbing, going, preaching this and going and stealing. You who take such pride in Torah, do you, by disobeying Torah, dishonor God? As it says in the Torah, in the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament. For it is because of you that God's name is blasphemed by the non-Hebrew, Gentile, or the heathen. You referenced Ezekiel 36. For circumcision is indeed a value of if you do what Torah says, but if you are a transgressor of Torah, your circumcision has become uncircumcision. Therefore, if an uncircumcised man keeps the righteous requirements of the Torah, won't his uncircumcision be counted as circumcision? Indeed, the man who is physically uncircumcised but obeys the Torah or God's laws will stand as a judgment on you who have had a covenant of circumcision and have Torah written out but violated. For the real Jew is not merely Jewish outwardly. True circumcision is not only external and physical. On the contrary, the real Jew is one inwardly, and true circumcision is of the heart, spiritually, not literal, so that his praise comes not from other people, but from God. Tell you guys, I hope some things I had would help you or help clarify things, because doing this, that's why I can't wait for the next, whatever you're going to do next. I learned all that since January. I knew really nothing about Paul. But I will tell you this, he knows it. God gave me the name Timothy. I hated that name. Remember reading about that? I hated that name. And one day last year, I was going in Walmart, and the Holy Spirit told me why he called me Timothy. After that, I loved the name. And that was right around the time God told me to get up there every time he gave a blessing to the Son, get up to you. So he does things, and people just got to see it. So I'm living proof what Paul saying. May God revealed himself to me in a different way, but some of the things he said, I believe God showed him some things that God showed me. And right there's witnesses. That, guys, how many times I missed your football game for God? When he was little, it used to hurt me, but I put God first. And this guy, he's a witness. Every football game I went to one year, God told me to stand. And every time I stood, their team would win. But when I sat down, their team would start losing. Remember that? So I'm telling you, God's real. I know you all know it. This year, I thought God did the same thing to everybody, but through what Rabbi Myron slowly and gently showed me and what God showed me, he don't do everything the same to everybody. It's basically the salvation the same. He's going to bring you through the chopping up, showing you, and this and that. But everybody needs different vitamins in their spiritual growth that the other person may not need. Because I said, why did it take all these years for you to teach me this, Lord? I was saying this. And here, Apostle Paul, Jesus reveals himself and he's off on the road doing the stuff. He said he was taught. So God had to work out all the bad kids. I'm going to go get my regular glasses, but if there's any questions, I'll tell you right now. The only dumb question is the one you never asked. If you want to know what the Holy Spirit did with me, or certain things, or what can a person expect, I'm all here. And like God told me, speak what I know, and I'll never go wrong. So I'm going to go get my glasses. He is very precise on his questions. Yeah.